Good afternoon, Lagos. Welcome once again. Welcome to your number one tech show on Lagoon Radio. This is Tech Vibes. And I'm so excited today because we'll have a wonderful guest in the house. So, of course, do follow us on all our social media platforms via Facebook, which is Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Twitter, and via Instagram too, which is Lagoonradio.Ng. Of course, you can follow us live on our YouTube channel, which is Lagoon.TV. And for more information, you can go through our website, which is Lagoon.News. Yeah, today we're going to be looking at a very, very important topic and have a wonderful guest in the house. Yeah. So I'll just, call his name and he will do the introduction by himself. He's going to introduce himself today. So, yeah, of course, it's going to be a very, very exciting topic because we've been looking at other aspects of, businesses or services that technology has been enhancing. And so today we're going to be diving deep into the financial space. And so without wasting too much time, I'm going to introduce my guest. His name is the superstar. His name is Raji Adegoke. And Raji Adegoke is the head strategy and product in Global Accelerex. Yeah. So, Raji, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
It's indeed an honor. First and foremost, I want to sincerely appreciate the opportunity extended to me by a very good friend, Emmanuel Odo, for giving me this opportunity to come on the air to speak on this subject matter. Without wasting too much time, I want to just dive into the full conversation.
Okay, good.
So a brief about myself. I studied electronics engineering. I came for my NYC in Lagos. I served with one of the first set of ISOs, then now PTSP, Paymaster. After my NYC service, I was retained. Shortly after, I was part of the co-hub staffs that helped set up e-business for some of the banks as at then. One of such is Skybank now. Skybank is now, I think, Polaris.
Yeah.
Yes. Then Zenith Bank. So for that major reason, I was brought into Zenith. I was in Zenith Bank for a while. I left Zenith. I moved into the microfinance bank sector. I was with Mortgage MFB, Shelter MFB.
Okay.
And shortly after, I went to Abzone. Abzone is one of the fintech organizations today that I'm really proud of. I was able to gain a lot of experience and made a lot of impact. Left Abzone, went to Clistone, went back to Abzone to start agent banking. Left to 3Line, started Freedom Network with Femi, and thereafter moved up to iTex. From iTex, I went to 9PSB. Currently, I'm now with iTex. I'm now with Accelerex as the head of strategy. Wow. So, so far so good. I've acquired over 18 years working experience within the MFB, fintech, and as well as the banking industry. And one of the things I pride myself in is that I am one of those people that wants to create impact in the area of financial inclusion. And then if you've looked at my profile over the years, you'll find out that I've actually been very focused in the area of financial inclusion. So the topic for conversation today is centered around financial inclusion. And a lot of people will be wondering, what's financial inclusion? So financial inclusion, by definition, means the delivery of financial services at affordable cost.
Okay.
To the disadvantaged or low-income segment of a society. Now, the disadvantage I mean here is the unbanked and the underbanked market segment. So a lot of people will come, what is all this terminology? Financial service. So financial services mean I'm able to have access to be able to do deposits and withdraw. So I don't necessarily need to go to a banking hall where you have a brick and mortar. I could just walk up to an agent location, someone close to my house that has a POS terminal that is also able to provide that same financial services that I would have leveraged from a banking hall, okay? And today, who are the people who are disadvantaged? The disadvantaged people, we categorize them as the unbanked segment, people who don't even have access to financial service. Number one, they don't even have a bank account. Number two, they don't have a BVN. So we're even saying that for you to be able to stimulate and provide financial services to those disadvantaged, we need to have touch points that will be easily accessible to them. So a touch point means that in less than 100 steps or less than the 200 steps from wherever they are, they're able to have access to financial services. They can open an account, they can do deposits, withdraw, bills payment, and the rest. So that's the definition of financial inclusion. So financial inclusion, one more time, means having access to financial services at affordable price, at an affordable cost. These services is provided to the disadvantaged or low-income segments, and then the disadvantage we mean the unbanked and the underbanked market segment. Thank you.
Okay, good. You've said a lot of things, and please, while talking, you need to just break them down to
a layman's
language where people who are listening can understand some of these terminologies. You understand? Okay, so good. You talked about the unbanked and the bank. So I saw a statistics. I don't know if you can confirm those figures, that we have over the percentage, we have over 56% of the unbanked in Nigeria. A lot of people don't have access to maybe a valid account, or any form of financial payment, either being transactions or whatever, So there's this set of people who don't have access to some of these things. So what are the major challenges, or what might be the major setback that is making so those people who are in those areas who don't have access to this? Is it because there's no proper information dissemination to those people, or maybe there's no good internet penetration, or there are no branches around those areas where people can actually have access to these services?
Well said. Just like you said, I would try as much as possible to break down those definitions to layman's language. What you've said is actually very much in tune. If you look at the global statistics, there's an organization called EFINA. EFINA, by terminology, means Effective Finance Innovation Access. It's funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and DFID, and their primary focus is to help deepen financial inclusion. In countries where the financial exclusion rate is actually at the peak. And then, drilling down coming down to Nigeria, you find out that Nigeria today has a population of over 200 million, based on last statistics. And then from the 200 million population, we have an adult population that is close to 99.9 million. Okay. Now, information reaching us, from EFINA confirms that 60% of that population is, financially excluded from the point of view of being 18 years and above.
With all the commercial banks that we have, and all the microfinance banks, with all these fintechs spinning up here and there.
So CBN today, being the apex bank and being the regulatory body, has done quite well. The question is, can they do better? Yes. Okay. And what they've done is that they've worked closely with all the stakeholders. So stakeholders, I mean the DMBs, the deposit money banks, I mean commercial banks, I mean microfinance banks, I mean licensed super agent, I mean the PTSP. And one of the reasons why CBN is working closely with the stakeholder is to help, see what are first and foremost, they've been able to identify that there's a huge financial exclusion in the Nigerian population.
Okay.
Now, having identified that, what are the ways to combating and reducing that financial exclusion to the barest minimum? And what CBN has done with the giant bold step is they've been able to set up, a stakeholder which is chaired by SANEF. So SANEF today is spelled SANEF.
Okay.
SANEF means Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility.
Okay.
So what SANEF primary responsibility is to have oversight on financial inclusion.
Okay.
And financial inclusion means that they want to be able to see how people can easily have access to open accounts from any commercial bank.
Okay.
They want to see a situation whereby people can walk to an agent location and carry out deposit conveniently, carry out withdrawal, carry out bills payment, airtime top-up, micro pension, micro insurance, micro LHMO, all those services that you would have had to go and walk into a physical bank branch, is what you could leverage from an agent location. And today, so far so good, SANEF working closely with CBN, we have a total of over 37 licensed super agents.
Okay.
And today, that license today as a super agent allows a stakeholder to primarily focus on driving financial services, leveraging the strength of their agent network. So by definition, I mean, an agent network is a location, is a touch point location where you can easily go. There's someone that has a POS terminal, okay? And that POS terminal could be a Linux terminal or an Android terminal. And then the application that runs on that POS terminal, which is developed by the licensed super agent, will allow the disadvantage. The disadvantage here could be an unbanked or an underbanked person to be able to have access to financial service. So today, CBN has done quite well, working closely with SANEF and all stakeholders to ensure that the financial exclusion rate is reduced to 20% by year 2020. Now, one of the 4 pillars that SANEF came up with, and they are aggressively driving that pillar across all the stakeholders, is one, they want to achieve 500,000 agent network by year 2020. Year 2020 was last year. Were they able to achieve that? Yes. What is the numbers of agents that we have today? We have more than 900,000 agents in Nigeria today. The 900,000 agents are spread across 36 states and across the 774 local government. Okay. Now, the second pillar that they are also driving closely is micro products. The micro products means that I'm able to, sign up for micro pension. I'm able to sign up for micro insurance. Then the third one is, access to micro loan credit facility. And then the last one is financial literacy. Financial literacy is the bottom on the line, but I say that the stakeholders have not done enough, but there's a lot that can be done. So financial literacy, which is the last part, is where people today, and I use my grandmother as a good example. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, is 97 years. And I still saw her 2 weeks ago when I traveled to Ilorin. Okay. And when I gave her cash, and I still told her, I said, Mama, I hope you open an account for her. Exactly. I said, Mama, if you had an account, I would have actually transferred this money to you. And she told me she does not even understand an account. And at that point in time, financial literacy, the lack of having financial information, which is literacy, came to mind. And I felt that the government and all stakeholders need to do enough in that area. Now, the question is, for someone that doesn't even understand the benefit of having an account, she has lived all her life having cash at her disposal. So you telling her to open a bank account is like rocket science. So what I'm saying is that we need to catch them young. We need to have financial literacy inculcated into our education curriculum. And catching them young means that we need to start from the level of the nursery, primary, take it up to the secondary and even to the higher institution. Okay, so this takes You've really said a lot, and as in what you've said is so informative, and at least you've shed a lot of light, and you've kind of broken down these terminologies in a layman's term. At least an average person can understand most of these terminologies I've talked about. But okay, so this brings me to my next question: who are the major players in this space or in this game? Because of course, this is a technology show, and I know you work in a technology company. Absolutely. With a PTSP. But yeah, we're not branding them because they're not paid for that. But we just need to talk about them for the benefit of others who are listening. So how is technology actually reshaping or kind of driving those financial inclusion to the unbanked? Because our focus here is the unbanked, being able to reach those areas where we don't have good network access. Maybe you don't have good LAN connectivity. Maybe there are no internet penetrations in those areas. So what are the measures, or what medium are you using to reach those people who are yet to have an account, in those maybe rural areas? Let's use that as maybe a case in point, Okay, thank you for that question. So I that question has two answers, and I want to look at it from two sides of the coin. Okay. So first part, so today, what are the available channels that financial services can be delivered through? So today, you talk about POS terminal. All of us are aware of POS terminal. Yeah, sure. Way back 5 years ago, people would only use POS terminal when they get to a merchant location.
Merchant means when you go to maybe like a store.
Exactly. Sorry for my terminology. When you go to a supermarket, when you go to a pharmacy, when you go to like a shop, right, and then you want to pay for goods, above a certain amount that for a cash amount that you don't have in your hand, and you have it in your bank account. So you simply take your card and use it on the POS terminal. Now today, that same POS terminal that we use for merchant service in supermarket or pharmacy store
Yeah.
is now what we are now using under the agent banking. And that's the key channel for
No, we'll
delivering.
still get to that point.
Exactly.
I don't want to talk about agency
Yes.
yet. We're going to,
Okay.
we're going to talk about that in detail, but
Okay.
we're just talking about the medium. At
The
which,
medium.
Yeah.
So the
deliver
medium,
this.
number one of the cheapest medium that, as a stakeholder in that industry, one of
Okay.
the medium that we've identified that could be easy for us to deliver our financial service is via the POS terminal.
Okay.
Now, that's not to say that the POS terminal is the only channel that is available.
Okay.
We also have the USSD. USSD means unstructured supplementary data, which means that by just dialing star, that's a string, star 123, for example, and hash, depending on the USSD code that the service provider has been able to build his service around. Then an individual, in the Nigerian ecosystem can actually have access to financial service. Now, one of the advantage of leveraging USSD is that it doesn't require the use of internet. Okay.
Yeah. That's
USSD is just it creates a session between the end user and the service provider to access that financial service. Now, the third channel is mobile. So today, you agree with me that mobile forms the largest point of service delivery. Almost every Nigerian today has a mobile phone, even if it's not a smartphone.
Yes, sure.
But you have a Java phone. So everybody has a phone, and your phone is almost like your identity now. You have a line to that phone. Yeah. Now, the third part, the fourth one is the web, which you can access via smart devices like your tab or your regular laptop. But, putting things into proper perspective, the first channel today that helps to deliver that financial services is the POS terminal.
POS terminal.
Okay. Now, your second question today is that for those rural areas, you're talking about the lantern in Jos,
exactly.
or you're talking about the extreme end of the country where there is no internet. That's where the USSD comes to play. So USSD now becomes a service delivery channel, to delivering those financial services. And what some of the stakeholders today, particularly the banking industry, I must applaud all the banks in Nigeria, all the 19 commercial banks in Nigeria for doing wonderfully well, providing financial services across all their channels. And today, all the banks in Nigeria today have a USSD code.
Okay.
Now, so being the first stakeholder playing a major role, the banks today have USSD code where they've been able to bundle all their financial services. All the services that the banks today offer to their customer is on the USSD platform. So it means that someone in the extreme rural area in Nigeria can actually dial that USSD without internet access and still be able to leverage some of those services as if he's right here in Lagos or in Banana Island.
That's true. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, and then the second stakeholders today, we're talking about the likes of licensed super agents and the payment service banks and even the telcos. So the three different service providers that I've just mentioned have also seen the importance of providing a lot of their services via USSD. It goes without saying that the strength of the telcos is on their USSD. They've been able to play around that. Now, the licensed super agent and the payment service banks, one of such is like 9PSB and the other ones, have also been able to leverage on USSD to bundle all their financial services, which is made available to the unbanked and the underbanked market segment. So, in a nutshell, the USSD is a channel that we still need to flog very well.
Okay.
And for me, the much of the unbanked market segments, which is yet to be polished, yet to be tapped, can actually be reached leveraging USSD. But aside that, one of the things that the major stakeholders have done today is to primarily focus on leveraging on the POS terminal. Thank you.
Okay. Well said. So, this brings me to, because we talked about the PTSPs and we talked about now let's now digress back to the issue of the agency banking. So, agency banking, to my own best of knowledge, I understand is all about still reaching those target audience that that has not been covered from the conventional banking system. So how have you been able, from your own part, how have you been able to, be able to at least, reduce the numbers of the unbanked in this country using technology as a driving force?
Okay, very good question. So I could still remember, I think 5-7 years ago when I was still with one of the licensed super agent. As at then, the super agent license just came into being.
Okay.
So today, the question is what prompted CBN to even come up with some of these licenses? So CBN today haven't identified the huge gap in terms of financial exclusion, and they're considering the fact that the banks have done quite well, but the question is they've not done enough.
Okay.
Now, can you stimulate that ecosystem? Yes. So if you look at the positions the banks have played today, the banks have played the role of just account holders, exactly, account holders, driving ATMs, issuing cards, deploying POS terminals for merchants. Okay, but when CBN saw that there's still enough that needs to be done, considering the fact that there's a huge financial exclusion, and I think I said 3-4 years ago, based on the FINA figures, there was 40%. But right now, the financial exclusion rate, based on target, CBN is trying to reduce it down to 20%, working closely with SANEF and all stakeholders. Okay. And one of the ways to do that is to allow more more organized private sector who have the right experience with the right technology and the right resource to come and partake in that ecosystem. And today, CBN has issued over 37 super agent license. The list is exhaustive. Just to name a few, we have Accelerix Network, sister company to GA, Global Accelerix. We have iTex. We have Treeline from Freedom Network from Treeline. We have Express Pay. We have Baxi Box. We have Barclay. We have so many of them. But each one of us, what we're trying to do is that we're creating the agent network. So the agent network today is our primary strength. The agent network is an individual or a corporate entity that has a fixed location in line with CBN policy, under KYC. You must have a physical location. Physical location means that your location must be pinpointed by latitude and longitude, must be verified. Okay. And then it doesn't necessarily mean that you must have been doing some big, fantastic business. A supermarket, a pharmacy can be an agent touch point. Yeah. Of primary essence is that we always want to look for people who are actually performing, agent banking related service, who are actually doing those business. So today, what every stakeholder is doing is identifying those requirements in line with CBN for someone that can be profiled as an agent, and then fully setting up that person based on KYC means that that person is profiled on their system, okay, and that person is trained on how to use their platform. Their platform means that they probably have a web access to be able to check list of all your agents under you as an agent aggregator. Okay. You have a POS terminal that has the different services. The different services have a specific flow. You need to do step 1 before you move to step 2 before you can get the desired results. And then what happens when a successful transaction is done? It prints out 2 receipts, just to use an example. Okay. For a failed transaction, it prints out just 1 receipt. All those information are cascaded down and the agents are properly trained. So as a stakeholder in that industry, what we're doing is we identify our agents. Okay. And then we lock down those agents by providing them with training. We deploy our terminals. And then we also provide the much needed branded visibility. So we give them banners, we give them, T-shirts, flyers, face cap, all those things that we align and show the brand. And lastly, it goes without saying that one of the things that the agents today look out for is a simple and easy to understand technology. So if you have a technology platform that is too cumbersome, I give an example. If you have a technology platform that works and you need to do step 1 to 10 before you get to the finish point, your agent is going to do that. But the moment your agent sees a platform that does step 1 and 2 and that's complete,
that's the end of your
they will jump ship and move to another ship. Okay. And then the second part is customer service, which is something that we all need to improve on. And then the third part is pricing. So pricing today is what makes the agents to say, oh, this guy is cheap. I need to jump on board on this guy. This guy is cheap for this service. So that's how the ecosystem works today. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on a very short break, and when we come back, we'll look at the future of the fintech space because we're having a lot of disruptions, and we'll look at other things in terms of the in-currency space and how this thing is actually disrupting the conventional banking system. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio. Listening to Lagoon Radio.
Welcome back to your number one tech show, which is Tech Vibes, streaming live from our Marina studio in Lagoon Radio. And I have a beautiful guest with me today by name Raji Adegoke, and he has been, in fact, he has been disrupting our memory here, try to, give us the right information about the, fintech space. So this brings me back. So Raji, this brings me back to our new oil, which is the fintech in Africa, especially in Nigeria here, because it has actually, it has started attracting a lot of attention from the global space, and a lot of funding has been coming in. A lot of companies who have been doing great things in that space. And so, I'm sure one of the major disruption was the advent of the cryptocurrency. When cryptocurrency came into play, there was a very large adoption, though via and maybe, I don't know, an alternative or maybe purpose or something, which the likes of the scammers who came in, using the cryptocurrency as a means to just siphon cash from people. So, but on the positive side, cryptocurrency actually, bridged the gap of in terms of remittance, being able to transfer money from one point to another, being able to send money from quote unquote the abroad, people who are able to send money to their loved ones maybe via different wallets. So of course there has been something existing, because of course we have the normal wallets like the Paga and the likes, but the cryptocurrency space actually disrupted the fintech space. So let's even start from there. So how have you seen cryptocurrency as a major disruption in our financial institution? Because now it's not like most of majority of the people now prefer to go via the wallet, because it's easier. Number one, they think the charges are cheaper, and two, you can do your transactions without being monitored. It is actually decentralized, like the normal centralized system where people have to regulate or monitor transaction flow. So let's start from there. What's your take about cryptocurrency? Let's start from that space.
Okay, so a lot has been done. A lot has been done by the different stakeholders, particularly outside the shores of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything that is very interesting in Nigeria, is that Nigerians, we have three different types of adopters Okay, we have the early adopters, we have the mid adopters, and then we have the late adopters. So if you look at the trend in technology, the early adopters of the use of technology has always been the millennial. Okay?
Exactly.
So you have someone who is above 18, the millennial age, he has a smartphone, and the smartphone takes him all around the world, and he's able to get information at the tip of his finger. And then, the interesting part about them also is that when they hear about something new, they want to get to try it, whether it works or it doesn't work. But they want to first understand it, second, apply it, and third, get to know what are the benefits. And for me, if we look at the advantage of the cryptocurrency, around the world, where, just like you said, it's a decentralized system. There's no regulation, and people are able to move
funds from one point to another.
Funds via a wallet. Yes, we need to call it wallet because, one, it's not tied to a deposit money bank, so it's not in an account, but it's in a wallet where it's a stored value, and that stored value can be used to exchange. It can be used as a means of payment for getting goods or services, anywhere in the world. So it's like saying the world has become one. Whether you are a Nigerian that is used to using Naira currency, or you are an American using dollars.
Yes, dollars.
So with the cryptocurrency now becomes a unified means of currency identity. That's the way I look at it. And what CBN tried to do is that they knew fully well that there's a lot of potential in the area of, leveraging, the population of the banked segments. The bank segments, particularly the ones that are above 18, who also have access to devices that they can use, to get information. And
okay, sorry, let me cut you there. I think one of the major disruption in that space was more of remittance, ability to transfer cash from one point to another.
Correct.
Without being regulated. And then initially the cost was either cheaper than your normal conventional money transfer operators, like for instance your MoneyGram and the likes. So it was easier for people to transfer money without even going through any third-party vendor, and a lot of, because of course having multiple vendors like the regulators, the issuers, every participant that is in charge in that transaction, in each transaction, will always have their own cost. So it makes your own. It makes the cost of sending that cost of that transaction becomes very expensive. So I think that was the major reason why there was a high adoption rate in cryptocurrency or blockchain as a payments method. Or what do you think?
Yes, and then to also buttress your point, it means that at that point in time, there was a lot of foreign transactions that was done by those segments. So I give an example. Today, Nigerians have to always struggle to exchange, struggle with the exchange rate. So for instance, you want to buy something, outside the country, and today someone is telling you the dollar is like 570, and then 2 days after, dollar is like 5 something.
It drops. The value drops.
Down.
Yeah.
So what the cryptocurrency has been able to do is that if at any point in time, based on the crypto value that you have in your wallet, at whatever point in time, whatever happens to the naira doesn't really affect, what happens on the crypto level, because one, the crypto level has a steady, is a steady value, which can be used to exchange goods or services on the other side. Let me put it that way. And I want to digress a bit and say, recently when CBN came up with this e-naira, so a lot of people were wondering. I had a friend who was saying that, how do you see the e-naira introduced by CBN? Do you think it's a DOA? I said, no, it's not a DOA. It all depends on how you see it. So one, for the e-naira to succeed, all stakeholders must ensure they work closely with CBN. Because one, as a regulatory body, even though they dish out the rules and the regulation, it doesn't mean that the adoption, if when pronounced by CBN, be automatically adopted by all the citizens in Nigeria. No.
But sorry, let me cut you. The advantages outweighs the disadvantage, don't you think so? Because there's high level of remittance. People abroad trying to send money back home to their loved ones, especially this festive period. So of course there'll be a lot of transactions, and there's this fear that there's a limit to what you can send. I don't know if there's that cap on this e-naira, which brings us to the e-naira part.
So there is. So let me talk about the cap before I now speak more on the others.
Okay.
So today, in the banking industry today, there's what we call the account tier.
Okay.
So before you can even open an account, there's something we call KYC. KYC means know your customer. So CBN as a regulator has created three different tiers under the KYC for you to be able to open an account for a customer. That's a bank now. So we have the tier 1. The tier 1 is basically you don't need a BVN.
Okay.
You just need basic information, first name, last name, date of birth, the gender information, and address. And then you can open a bank account.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there is a limit to the transaction value that can be done under a tier 1. So what CBN even now did was that at the point in time when the account is open and then there's funds transferred into the account, okay, CBN initially came up and said that the customers will not be able to, withdraw funds from that account. That's because the customer needs to provide more KYC before transactions can happen. At the point, stakeholders, met and said, a tier 1 account is someone that doesn't even have a BVN. That's somebody that is just even being introduced into the banking main banking stream.
Yeah.
So first, the first thing you want to do is to encourage that customer to say, okay, deposit a minimum of like 1,000 naira and get to use that 1,000 naira to do transaction. You understand?
So if you enjoy the service, then you can,
exactly. So the post-note debit, the PND that was initially placed on those accounts were eventually now being removed. So you now had a situation whereby those accounts, you can't have more than 50,000 naira in those accounts. Okay. And then you can't do more than a cumulative transaction set. You can't do more than 200,000, 200 to 300,000 naira in that tier 1. So it means that at the point in time when the transaction goes higher than that amount, the customer has to move to tier 2. And at tier 2, we're now going to be talking about BVN. So BVN today is called Bank Verification Number, where the bank needs to capture all your information, your first name, last name, capture your 10 fingers, okay? And then by so doing, they generate that BVN. That BVN is generated by NIPS. So there's a stakeholder called NIPS, Nigerian Interbank Settlement Scheme.
Yeah,
and they are the ones that warehouse those BVN. Number one, they are the ones that will generate that BVN. So BVN is generated based on the fact that your information prior to generating that number doesn't exist. If it does exist, you can't get 2 BVN numbers. So
That's
today
true.
you only have 1 BVN number. And the unique thing about that BVN is that it allows us to, is a unique identity that is across all the banks. So it means that if Raji today has 10 accounts across all the banks, Raji today has just 1 BVN number that ties all his 10 different accounts across the banks.
Yeah, sure.
So today, why I said that the e-naira has a lot of advantage if all the stakeholders, work closely with CBN. And why I said this is that I would have actually felt that the banks today, the deposit money banks should have been the one at the forefront driving that e-naira.
And the early CBN adoption,
exactly.
for people to
but
come
today,
into that space.
We've not been, a lot has not been done. I don't know whether the banks are still trying to understand the benefit of e-naira to them as a business and the benefits to their end customer. But the truth of the matter is that as a stakeholder in the licensed super agent sector, we have seen the potential of the e-naira. The e-naira is not different from your physical cash. So the physical 5,000 naira that you have in your wallet now is the 5,000 naira electronic value that you have as an e-wallet, your e-wallet. So you could do every other thing that you can do in your regular bank account today is what you could do in the e-naira. And what CBN has done is that they've come up with some policies, and that policy is to let you know that the Nigerian economy is going to start shifting to spending e-naira. So apart from you spending physical cash, eventually there are some certain conditions that will be tied to spending e-naira. So one of such, which I'll say is, CBN has categorically said that federal civil servants in the federal service sector, their salaries are now going to be paid
via
in their in-naira wallet. So what that tells you is that whether they like it or not,
the adoption of
they will
so
definitely
they
need
to
to subsume into that position. You understand? Then in addition to that, other things like your tax payment. So government has the right to say, moving forward, Nigerians must pay their tax using their Naira wallet.
Yeah.
You understand? That's also going to drive adoption. Another good example is that they could also say that for federal civil servant, your pension that should have been paid into a commercial bank account will be paid into your Naira wallet.
Wow.
And then federal government can also say that when you're coming into the country as a foreigner, okay, with all your papers complete, you need to open an Naira e-wallet. So the federal government has, CBN has that, they have the power and they have the will to impose that. But my question is, the question that we need to ask ourselves is that, as stakeholders, do we even understand the benefits of the e-Naira?
That's well, I got to leave it for them to answer. But
exactly.
But I think there's a lot of potential in the e-Naira, especially when it comes to, like I rightly said, in terms of remittance, because it means we're going to be kicking out those third-party vendors like the money remitter license platforms, or they'll give them a match for their money, because there's going to be a lot of competition. And for me, I would prefer to use something that's more tied to where I come from than adopting something that I know. But of course, in that space, there are so many vendors now that have been given license to remit money across board. So, which of course there'll be a lot of competition. But I'm sure the benefits of the e-Naira will outweigh all of them when time comes, because when there's a high rate of adoption and like you've rightly mentioned, if they try to impose all the civil servants to start using it, and there's a lot of people actually using, because one thing about cryptocurrency or the virtual currency is adoption. When people start to use that thing, it starts to have value. So it's the value that matters. It's not about the wallet or the technology behind it. So once there's an adoption and there's a lot of people actually using that thing to actually do transactions, maybe receive money or send money, it makes a whole lot of sense. And then it becomes an entity. It becomes something that has value. So the higher it goes, the more it becomes even, you can even now trade it as, as an entity or something in stock exchange. Because I think that's where we're going to head to. Like other cryptocurrencies where they trade, like they trade the Bitcoin, they trade other crypto wallets like the RPX and so many likes, so many of them, Dogecoin and the likes. So what's the future of e-Naira? Now, how do you see it in the next 10 years? Where do you see it? How do you think, what's the future of e-Naira?
So the future of e-Naira in the Nigerian ecosystem, it has a huge potential. So something just came to mind before I now speak more on the opportunity. So I give an example. If today CBN says that for everybody that wants to travel out of the country, you want to pay your visa application, okay? You have to pay through e-Naira. And then once payment is done, even the banks, of course, the banks today earn commission. They earn commission for processing transaction. And, as a stakeholder, CBN being a stakeholder can also say, payments for visa application to actually even track people who are even going out of the country or the rest, because a lot of people that are traveling out of the country have access to smart devices. So the CBN could stimulate that from that angle, just using that as an example. Now, talking about the potential of e-Naira, one of the things that CBN and the stakeholders, particularly the commercial banks, need to do is that they need to create a lot of awareness. And just like I said, one of the fourth pillar of SANEF, which is financial literacy, which a lot of stakeholders have not done quite well on, is there has to be a lot of sensitization around the benefit of e-Naira. So today, a lot of people still don't understand that your e-Naira is your regular cash that you have electronically. Now, you could actually use your e-wallet to be able to make any kind of payments, okay? You can transfer to someone, you can make deposits, you can use it for bills payments and the rest. Now, what is the benefit of even using it? Do I have a reduced transaction fee if I use my e-wallet compared to the regular existing platform? What kind of incentive? Is there a loyalty scheme that is tied to, for every 10 e-wallet transaction I do I have the next payment free.
But, but let me digress a little bit.
Yeah.
But this actually kills that idea of decentralization, because the whole idea of cryptocurrency or the blockchain is having a decentralized network,
Absolutely.
having a platform or a blockchain, which is just connection of different nodes or different systems to a chain. So the whole idea is having a decentralized system. So with this CBN trying to regulate, because I read according to what they said, they have the sole license to mint the coin. So it still defeats that aim of having a decentralized system, because the whole idea is for people to be able to do things without being regulated, without being checkmated, or without being restricted to do specific things. Because the whole idea of decentralization is your ability to be able to transfer funds to anybody at any
Without
time,
any barrier.
without any barrier, and without any form of maybe limitation, without anybody regulating you. So with this, I think it defeats that aim for me, because if CBN is still going to be the only one issuing or minting the coin, so it doesn't make any sense. So there are no competitors. There's nobody in this space who will come and mint it, So it becomes like, it still brings us back to that same era of whereby we have a centralized, a regulated, we're still back to that same whole thing, which was not the original idea or the original content of those who created the blockchain or the cryptocurrency in the first place. Or what do you think?
Okay, so
because decentralization is the key, actually. That's the whole idea. That's the essence of the blockchain.
So if you look at the Nigerian ecosystem, you would find out that there's no way you can really have a decentralized system, particularly when you have an apex bank, playing oversight function in terms of the fiscal policy, in terms of how funds are moved from one point to another,
Sure, I understand that part.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that part.
Yes.
But the whole idea is, that's like I rightly said, we understand that money has to be regulated, because
Yes.
of course you can use it for illicit purposes like funding terrorism. You can use it to a lot of things, money laundering and the likes. I'm sure that's the whole essence of the regulation in the first place. But as technology evolves, and people want freedom, we need our own privacy, and people need to be able to do things without being controlled or being monitored or being told what to do, or being told what you cannot do. Like, for instance, maybe I need to transfer a specific amount to somebody, and I need to use the naira that has like a peg or a cap on it. So it still limits me in some ways.
Absolutely.
I still can't do whatever I want to do. So it still defeats that aim of decentralization, like I rightly said, because that's the whole idea of this. And aside from the cryptocurrency thing, of course, the blockchain can be used for so many other things. But to this, we are not looking at blockchain as a topic. We are just looking at it as a means of payment, to be able to do transactions, transferring money from one point to another, which has been a major headache, regards to, especially this time that the FX is so high that as the Bureau change their licenses have been withdrawn from them being able to sell out FX like dollar to naira and stuff like that. So it becomes, so you can only go through CBN, the commercial banks, to be able to acquire foreign currencies. So it becomes so very difficult for people who want to, and for instance, if I want to pay my child's school fees, and maybe the school fees is around maybe $30,000 per annum. So how do I do it? It becomes a problem. So that's the whole idea of this decentralized system, being able to actually do, make this payment. So for instance, if my child is in maybe the US and I am finding it difficult to send that kind of bulk cash, without going through the banks, I can just send, if he has a wallet, I can actually buy that actual value of the maybe let's say Bitcoin or maybe Inara. Let me not use Inara because that one is centralized.
Yes.
So, like for instance, I buy maybe $30,000 worth of Bitcoin and I send it to him or her, and over there's an exchange platform where they can actually convert those things back to that same value. So it makes a whole lot of sense, So it just cuts off that middleman, the third party platforms that would overcharge you. Like for instance, you want to send $50 and you're asked to pay $10 as your remittance fee. It doesn't make any sense. You get, so these are the challenges that I see, that, or they are like the bottlenecks, which
I think you've said it all.
This. So, yeah. So, Raj, your parting words.
Okay. So I want to say that there's a lot of potential in the financial ecosystem in the Nigerian space. Like you rightly said in the course of our conversation, the new oil is fintech.
Yeah, sure.
If you look at, in the last 1 year, the FDI, the foreign direct investment that has come into fintechs like OPay, Flutterwave, InterSwitch, has been
I beg up.
everybody, Abzone and the rest,
Flutterwave.
everybody doing stuff within that industry. And I tell you that there's none of the other industry in Nigeria that has gotten that kind of remarkable recognition. And what that simply tells you is that Nigerians we're go-getter.
Yeah.
We want to help improve the financial ecosystem in Nigeria ourselves. We don't want
sure.
external. And what the external guys have done, is to say, oh, you guys have done well. You are expert in that area. We don't need to come. We just need to back you up with funding.
Exactly.
So I say kudos to all those guys who have, made impacts one way or the other in the financial ecosystem, including Emmanuel Odo, my presenter, and myself, and others. And then I say, is there more potential in that fintech space? I say a big yes. Have we done well? Yes. Can we do better? Yes. Sure. And I would also like to say that there's never an ending time to starting something new. You just have to start.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever idea you have, even if it's just an idea, it doesn't need to have started. Just it doesn't need to have been in a growth stage where you started it for. Just start. That's the tag. And lastly, I also want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to come on this radio show to speak on financial inclusion. It's been exciting, with my two presenters, and I look forward to coming another time to speak more on other topics. Thank you for having me.
On this note, I want to say a very big thank you to all our listeners. Please follow us and on our social media platform. So let's continue this conversation. And thanks, Raj, for coming in. We hope to continue this conversation. So please keep asking the questions. Sorry that we couldn't call in today. And of course, same time next week, we hope to continue our program. So please stay tuned, keep listening to Lagoon Radio, and don't forget to always hashtag us. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.